Messages can be in the form of text, numbers, images, audio, video, and so on. So what is a protocol? It is a set of rules that needs to be followed by the communication parties in order to have successful and reliable data communication. What is seamless communication? It is one-way or unidirectional communication between two devices in which one device is sender and other one is only receiver. Dear students, welcome to Computer Science classes. I am Ravi Kumar KR, lecturer in Computer Science, Vidhyaashram PU College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. Students, let us start our discussion with the new chapter, data communication. So, in this session, let us talk about introduction to communication or data communication, components of data communication, types of data communication, and communication medium. So, these are the topics to be discussed in this session. Let us start with the definition of what is data communication. So, communication is an act of sending or receiving data. Thus, data communication refers to exchange of data between two or more networked or connected devices. So, in general, if we talk about communication, it is the communication can take place between two persons. That is a type of communication. So, here we are talking about the communication, that is data communication, means communication between two computers or a group of computers. That is the definition of data communication, or that is the concept of data communication. Here, the communication or data transferred between two or more computers, that is refers to the data communication. So, it is the act of sending or receiving data. So, sending a data from one computer to another computer or receiving data from one to another computer, that is a definition of data communication. And it is nothing but the exchange of data between two or more networked connected devices. So, any devices which are connected in a computer network, so the communication between or among other devices, it is nothing but data communication. In the next slide, we will see what are the different components of communication or data communication in a computer network. So, first one is called sender. So, sender is a computer or any such device which is capable of sending data over network. It can be a computer, mobile phones, smartwatch, or walkie-talkie, video recording, and so on. So, one of the component is sender, means a computer which is on a network. So, a computer which is capable of sending a data over computer network. That is a component called a sender, and it can be any of the computing devices. It can be like a mobile phone, computer, smartwatch, but only the constraint is everything, all the devices must be in a computer network. Next component is receiver. So, what is a receiver? A receiver is a computer or any such devices which is capable of receiving data from the network, and it can be any computer, printer, laptop, mobile phone, TV, and so on. So, one component is a sender and second component is a receiver. So, receiver is a computer or a type of any devices which are on a network which are capable of receiving data from the sender. That is another component is called a receiver, and it can be any of the devices which is on the network. Next one is called a message, another component. What is a message? It is nothing but data or information that needs to be exchanged between the sender and the receiver. Messages can be in the form of text, numbers, images, audio, video, and so on. So here, next component is a message. So what is a message? It is nothing but data or information, and so data or informations are exchanged between sender and the receiver. So sender, one who sends the messages or information to the receiver. Receiver is a computer, is going to accept it or receive the messages or data from the sender. So that is a message is nothing but data or information, and it can be of any types of data, maybe in the form of text, in the form of numbers, images, audio or video or multimedia files. That is one more component is message. Next one is communication media. It is a path through which the message travels between source and destination. It is also called as the medium or link, which is either wired or wireless. For example, telephone cable, television cables, Ethernet cable, satellite link or microwave, etc. So next important component is communication media. Medium is how we are going to connect two computers or how the data is exchanged between two computers or from sender and the receiver. So here it is nothing but the path between the sender and the receiver, and how we are going to connect it. And here we are using source and destination. Source is a computer which is going to send the messages or a sender, and destination is nothing but the receiver component or a computer which is going to receive the data from the sender. That is destination. And it is this media is also called as medium, and it can be a link, means connecting between the two computers in a network, either wired network or wireless network. Here any two computers in a network which can be connected either wired connectivity or wireless connectivity. What is wired connectivity? So there is a physical connectivity between the sender and the receiver, that is the wired network. And what is wireless communication? There is no direct physical connectivity between the sender computer and the receiver computer or any of the devices in a computer network, and they are communicating through different wireless technologies like microwave technology or satellite link and so on. So this is another component is communication media or a medium for communication. Next component is called protocol. So what is a protocol? It is a set of rules that needs to be followed by the communication parties in order to have successful and reliable data communication. So in order to have effective communication, or in order to have the data to be reached the destination from source to destination, we need to follow certain rules. Rules are referred as protocols. And this everyone, those who are in communication, means the one who want to send a message and one who want to receive the message, both of them should follow. They should follow the protocols of communication. So communication protocols, that is nothing but protocols, nothing but rules for communication. Next one is, what are different types of data communication? Here, data communication between different devices are broadly categorized into three types. One is simplex communication. Second one is half duplex communication. Next one is full duplex communication. So these are all the three types of communication. Now let us see what are the things through this diagram. So this diagram, it gives the definition of, or we can understand the definition of three types of communication. So one is the sender and the receiver. So it is the source and this is the destination. And here in between we have communication modes or communication media. Means the sender and the receiver are connected through the communication channel or communication path or communication medium. So here one is simplex, half duplex and full duplex. Though if you look at the diagram here, sender to receiver, it is only one direction. Sender to receiver is one direction. Now look at half duplex. Here sender can send a message to receiver and receiver can send a message to sender. That is, there are two-way communication. And here full duplex, again two-way communication with only one channel. Now look at the difference here. This is one channel, this is one channel, and here there are two different channels or communication medium. So this is by looking at this diagram, we can know the definition of the three types of communication. Still, let us see in detail the definition of simplex communication. Now look at the diagram here. Simplex type of communication, one is the sender, one who sends the message, and receiver, one who receives the messages from the sender computer. What is simplex communication? It is one-way or unidirectional communication between two devices in which one device is sender and other one is only receiver. So here in this type of communication, one device, both the devices should be on the network. Here one of the device is a sender and another one is receiver, and it is a one-way communication, or we can say unidirectional. If I say unidirectional, only one person or only one computer can send a message to this. So this is always a sender and this is always a receiver. That's the concept of simplex communication. So here devices use the entire capacity of the link to transmit the data. For example, data entered through a keyboard or audio sent to speaker or one-way communication. See here, whatever the data which has been sent from the sender to the receiver, so it makes use of a complete utilization of the link or the communication path with respect to bandwidth. So here, for example, for this, data entered through keyboard. So you're entering data in a computer for your programs through keyboard. So if you type any information, it goes to the computer, that is only in one direction. That is example for simplex communication. One more example is audio sent to a speaker through microphone. If you have a microphone, you are talking over microphone and it goes to the speaker. That is only one direction. In return, you will not get any audio from speaker to the microphone back. That is the meaning of simplex communication. Next one is, with the advent of IoT, this is technology, Internet of Things, controlling home appliances like fans, lights, fridge, oven, etc. while sitting in the office or driving a car is an example for simplex communication. Another example we can see in our day-to-day life. One is IoT. You might be familiar with Internet of Things. It is one-way communication, and also it is called home appliances. We say smart home. You might have heard the word smart home. What is the meaning of smart home here? So we are applying this to different home appliances like fans and lights and fridges and so on. So here, by sitting in the office, you can switch on or switch off the light or the fan or fridge and all these things. This is an example for a smart home appliances or a smart home technology. It is also an example for simplex means of communication. In the next slide, we will see what are the definition of half duplex communication, that is second method of communication. So look at the diagram here. This is a sender and the receiver. If you look at the arrow mark here, sender can send a message to receiver and receiver can send a message to sender. So this is a two-way communication. We referred as half duplex communication. Now let us see the definition of this. So here it is a two-way or bidirectional communication. If you look at the diagram of simplex communication, it is a unidirectional communication, but here in half duplex, it is a bidirectional or two-way communication. So between two devices in which are both on the devices can send and receive data or control signal in both the directions, but not at the same time. So only one condition is that, here is that both of them can communicate. Sender can send a message to receiver and receiver can send a message back to sender, and both of them can be sender and receiver, but what's the condition? Not at a time. So only not at a time. At a time, only one sender can send a message to receiver, he can receive it. After he receives the message, then he can send a message back to the sender. So that is the meaning of two-way communication are not at the same time. While one device is sending data, other will receive the data and vice versa. That is the definition of half duplex communication. Next, another type of communication, that is full duplex communication. Now look at this diagram here, sender and the receiver, and if you look at the previous diagram, you can understand the difference between those two here. Sender, there are two arrow marks here. There is only one channel, so they can communicate each other. Now look at the definition of this. It is a two-way communication or bidirectional, and which both the devices can send and receive data simultaneously. Now if you look at the previous example, both of them can send a message, but both of them not at the same time. They can communicate. Only sender can communicate with the receiver, and after the communication is over, then receiver can send a message to the sender. That is bidirectional, but not at the same time. But in full duplex, it is possible to have a communication between sender and the receiver simultaneously. For example, in our mobile phones and landline telephone line, you are very much familiar with the mobile system. When you are talking to your friends over mobile devices and both of you can talk to each other simultaneously, that is an example for full duplex communication. In the next slide, we will see next one is another technology that is called switching technologies. Now we'll move on to one more concept, that is switching technologies. And here there are two commonly used switching technology in data communication or a computer network is circuit switching and packet switching. Now let us see the definition of this. Now first look into the definition of what is circuit switching. Look at the diagram here. If you observe the diagram, user 1 is a computer, user 2, this is a switch, and this is another switch, user 3, user 4. So this is one network and this is another network. There are two different networks. These are the two networking devices, what you have learned in our previous lesson. Next one is, see the definition of this. In circuit switching, before a communication starts, a dedicated path is identified between the sender and the receiver. The first point is that before we start communicating, or before a communication takes place between the sender and the receiver, first point is that a dedicated path has to be identified or dedicated path has to be created before you're sending any message or before starting any communication between the sender and the receiver. This path is a connected sequence of links between the network nodes. All packets follow the same path established during the connection. So what is the concept here is, so if we want to connect sender and the receiver, or if you want to establish a path between the sender and the receiver, it is a not only direct link between the two communication devices, or there may not be a direct link between sender and the receiver, might be a sequence of links or sequence of connectivity. Now look at the example here. Now we can understand the meaning of this point here. Say this is user 1, a computer 1 connected to a switch here, and user 2 connected to a switch, and this another switch here, and the user 3 and user 4. And here user 1, if you observe this, user 1 in one net, user 2 are in one network, user 3 and 4 are in another network. So both of them would like to communicate each other. In that way, if user 1 want to send a message to user 3, and it has to go through the links. This is the meaning of a link. So a link has to be established, dedicated path, or a link has to be established between the sender and the receiver, or the source and the destination. And this connectivity or these links can be established, might be a combination of many links. That is the meaning of the sentence here. Now next point, we move on to packet switching. Another technology. Let us see the definition of packet switching. Now in packet switching, each information or a message to be transmitted between the sender and the receiver is broken down into smaller pieces called packets. So here, any data to be communicated to the receiver or any communication should take place, and the data or information is broken down into number of small pieces called packet. That is the first step. These packets are then transmitted independently through the network. Different packets of a same message may take different routes depending on the availability of the route. So here, these packets are transmitted over the computer network. There might be a more than one link to be established between the sender and the receiver. So here, all the packets takes different routes or different link to reach the destination. That is by availability of the link. Each packet has two parts. One is header containing the address of the destination, and other is information and the main message part. So here these packets, what you have seen here, there are two parts inside in the packet. One is the sender address, means the destination address or destination computer address. That is the one part. Second part is the actual data or information. When all the packets reach the destination, they are reassembled and the complete message is received by the receiver. Here we have seen that these packets can take different routes, means the packets of same message can be reach the destination by following the different links in a computer network. But finally, all the packets may reach the destination at different time, and after entire communication process is completed, then all the packets are reassembled at the destination computer or at the destination, so that the receiver receives the complete right information which has been sent from the sender. That is the definition of packet switching. Now look at the diagram here, the sender and the receiver. So this is a network. So here if you observe that this is a node A, you can understand as B, E, D, C. Here to reach the destination receiver, we can see here different path. One path can be from sender to A, B, E, and it can reach the receiver. Or second path, it can be from sender to C, D, E on here, or it can be from sender to C, A, D, E receiver. So if you look at the diagram here, it is possible we can identify more than one path or more than one communication channel to be established between sender and the receiver. So these data packets can take any of the routes or any of the path to reach the destination, and at the destination all the packet is going to reassemble and the right information will be received by the receiver. That is the concept of packet switching. In the next slide we will see transmission medium. So what we have seen in the previous slide, communication medium, that is one of the component of communication, data communication. Now let us see the transmission medium. So the cable that connects two or more computers for communication is called as transmission medium. So what is the definition of transmission medium? Here what we have understood so far is any communication should take place. Here sender and the receiver should be connected through wired network or wireless network. So here transmission medium is nothing but the cable, the physical cable which are going to connect the two computers in a network, or which is going to connect the sender and the receiver either with the cable or different forms of cable. So that is the definition of transmission medium. The transmission medium is divided into following categories. Now look at the diagram here. So this is the diagram. From this we can understand the different types of communication medium. One is transmission medium. This is one is guided medium and unguided medium. There are two category of transmission medium. Under guided medium, so we have this is a twisted pair cable, coaxial cable, and optical fiber. These are all the different forms of guided medium. And Under unguided medium, we have radio waves, microwaves, satellites, infrared, and laser. These are the different technologies for communication between two computers in a network. So here, what is guided medium and unguided medium? So guided medium is there is a physical connectivity between the two computers in a network. So that is through in the form of cables. So guided medium is nothing but a types of cables. So there is a physical connectivity between the host and the destination. So our source and the destination. And in unguided medium, so this is a wireless communication. So this is a wired communication. So unguided medium is wireless communication. Here the two devices in a network or two computers in a network which can be connected through different technologies, maybe radio waves, microwaves, satellites, infrared waves, or laser. These are all different technologies, wireless technologies, where data communication can take place between the source and the destination. Now let us see what are a twisted pair cable. So twisted pair cable, it is a one type of a physical cable the connect between the source and the destination. One type is twisted pair cable. So let us see what is the definition of this. It is used for voice transmission and data transmission. So a type of cable, twisted pair cable, it is used for voice as well as data transmission. Now, when twisted cable is used for voice communication, it is called as voice graded medium. And when it is used for data transmission, it is called as data grade medium. These are all two forms of twisted pair cable. Now let us see, there are two types of twisted pair cables. One is UTP cable, that is unshielded twisted pair cable. STP, shielded twisted pair cable, another type of cable here. So this type of cable comes with shielding of individual pairs of wires. What is the meaning of shielded twisted pair? A shielding for individual pair of wires which further protects it from external interference. Now look at the difference between these two. So if you look at this, twisted pair means it is a pair of cables are twisted, and this is a pair of cable, and as per definition, which is shielding, I mean there is a separate shield for a pair of cables. Now look at the previous example here. See, this is a type of cable, and there are no separate shield for twisted pair here. But in STP cable, a separate shield of one more layer for protection. So it is going to protect from external interfaces. That is the definition of that is STP or shielded twisted pair cable. Now let us see the advantage of this. So here it offers greater protection from interference and crosstalk due to shielding. Means if there is a shielding, it is going to protect the data or protect the communication. So in that way, this STP cable give more protection for your data communication. So that a crosstalk can be avoided, or some interference or any sort of disturbances can be avoided by using STP cable. Then what is the drawback of this? It is heavier and costlier than UTP and requires proper grounding at both the ends. So this precaution we have to take care of. Whenever if you're using STP cable, it requires proper earthing or grounding at both the sender and the receiver end, and it is costly and heavier. That is the drawback of STP cable. Next we move on to one more type of cable, that is coaxial cable. Now look at the example now. That is coaxial cable. That coaxial cable consists of solid wire of core at the center that carries the signal. Now if you look at the diagram here, this is the center core of the cable, the coaxial cable, and this is where the signal is going to pass here, or data or communication takes place through this main core, and it carries the signal. A plastic layer provides insulation between the conductor and the outer metal shield here. So this is the insulator, is going to provide the insulation between the outer layer as well as between the core of this cable. It is suitable for high-speed communication, where we are using this for high-speed communication, and it is widely used for television signal in a cable TV. This is a type of coaxial cable, and this is the applications of this coaxial cable. Now let us see in the next slide. Types of coaxial cable. There are two types. One is thick net, second one is thin net. These are the two categories of coaxial cables. Students, so far we have discussed about the definition of data communication and components of data communication, and transmission medium means simplex, duplex and half duplex types of communication, packet switching, circuit switching, and transmission media, nothing but different types of cables that is required for effective communication or data communication between two computers in a network. Let us discuss few more concepts in my next session. Thank you very much.